Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I'm a computer programming instructor, and today I'm going to go through my approach to adding email to a website with Blazor. So this is based on my blog entry here, adding email capability with MailKit, and um, and so the reason for doing this is if we create an application. This application I'm speaking from actually has both a Maui client and a Blazor application. So we're just going to focus on the Blazor application. So normally when you register, if you register without email being created, so I'm just going to put without implementing email, this will come up with a page which will tell you that, hey, you don't have email implemented. What we want, though, is the ability uh, to implement email so that we actually get the register confirmation here. And you can see this one's been implemented, so it actually is sending the email to through an email service to the user to verify the account. So what we're going to talk about today is how to implement that. As I illustrate here, without that, you get this placeholder registration confirmation page. And there's a documentation page you can click on there, which gives you the information you need to implement this. I'm going to show how I implement it. So the first thing we want to look at is how this code is set up when you build your application in Blazor. Under Components on your server application, by the way, I've renamed mine, so this is usually just the name of your project. I've renamed them Server, Client, and then my Maui client. But you'll find with the scaffolded program that you have an account folder with all the components used to do your authentication authorization. In here, if you look at program.cs for the server, initially what you have is this services add singleton email email sender identity no op email sender. So this is the placeholder email sender that Blazor installs for you initially. What you want to do is add an actually functional email sender right here. We want to add our own email sender. And so we need to implement a class called email sender. Now, you could just put all your email code into email sender, but there's a problem with that, which will come up when if you ever try to use email for other things. So email sender, which implements iEmail sender. iEmail sender forces you to implement send confirmation link function, a send password reset function or method, and a send password reset link async method. So the interface for iEmail sender requires you to implement these three methods, which is fine. The only thing is that if you implemented all your email functionality in here, if you want to send email somewhere else and you try to call an iEmail sender, well, that interface, when you inject it into program.cs here, will not give you any other functions that you can use. So the approach I used is I'm going to make an email service in addition to an email sender. My email sender will use my email service to actually send emails. So I have another email interface. This is my email interface. and it just has one thing: send an email. That interface, then I'm going to implement a concrete version of that, depending, and you can, I'm going to use MailKit. There are other tools you can use. So I'm going to make my email service called MailKit email service. And it implements the send email method. And if you go look up the documentation for MailKit, it'll walk you through and some documentation on implementing it. Now I've got this code in on my blog, and basically send email takes a mail data object, which I defined in one of my models here. And there's a lot of stuff in this mail data class. There's a to, a BCC, a CC, all the little attributes that you could imagine sending an email. And the to BCC, the address blocks are all lists. And so this provides you a pretty robust class to put in, depending on how you want to build your email. It has everything. You could, if you want to make this simpler, you could just have a single to address and none of the other things. You could strip this down pretty far, but I would imagine that at some point, if you start doing sophisticated things with email, you're going to want a lot of this functionality. So we create a mail data object that holds all the things that we want to send for our email. And this is asynchronous, so we can have a cancellation token if we want. And then we make a MIME message, and we use that mail data object to load up this mail class. And I suppose we could have just used a MIME message, but the examples that I saw tended to do it this way. Once we load that MIME message up, it gets some of the things from mail data. The other thing it gets the information from are these settings. And so we have a mail settings class, which are things that are related to our actual email, whatever email service we're using. In my case, my website is deployed to a commercial host provider, and I get from the host provider what the username, password, host, port, SSL, all these settings I get from the host provider. And I put them in my app settings here. So all those are used to populate my mail settings. And then I have under server, I have placed the password into my secrets file. So if you manage user secrets, if you click on this, it'll bring up another JSON file, and I put the password in that. User secrets. The password would be here, and you want this structure to match up with the app settings. So however, this has to be in the same structure so that it will be mail settings and then password. So my email service is going to get these settings injected through dependency injection from program.cs. And that's happening right here. So builder.configuration gets section, a name of mail settings, and then it will populate a mail settings object and put that onto the services container so that we will get those settings here. And then in the code here, you will see that that is added to the MIME message where where we need it. So here we're checking the settings. If it says use TLS, for example, it'll set those things up in our SMTP client. And at the end, after doing all this, the message gets sent. Now, right now, this just sends back a true or false. I'm thinking that it would be nice to adjust, to modify this so that rather than a true or false, I have some kind of results object which may have any exception or follow-up messages about the success or failure of the email being sent. But that is, at this stage, that's how the send email is set up. So that whole class is just to send an email. The email sender class, which is used to support the authentication process, then gets that email service through dependency injection from program.cs. So we got the mail settings here. And then here we added the MailKit email service. I suppose this could go first. It would make more sense. It doesn't really matter. But so the MailKit email service uses the mail settings, and then the email sender, which is just to support the authentication piece, uses the MailKit email service, and then that in turn gets pushed also into the dependency services here as well. So all of those things need to be on there in order for this to work. Once you have the mail data, mail settings, email services interface, the email sender, and the MailKit sender, we can then set up the email for authentication, as well as just for general use in the application. So yes, you could just do code in email sender, but it makes sense to me to implement it so that you get email service for your application as well. So if we look at email sender, which is used by authentication, you can see the send confirmation link gets the user an email address, confirmation link, and it sends this message to the user saying, please confirm your email for, in this case, it's for Hackerspace, for whatever your application is. I need to change it because it's a different one here, but please confirm your email here. And then the confirmation link is provided by the authentication services. When they call your method, it will provide this link, and you just need to include that link in your email so that the user can confirm it. Now, you can format this any way you want. You can set it up as HTML, or as complex or as simple as you want. Put any disclaimers you want on your email. This is where you would style that up in the actual text here. And then notice it's using that email service that will be this MailKit email service to send this email. So we make a mail data object, we pass it to the service, it sends it. And same thing for all of these. For the password reset, we get the reset code from the authentication, the stubbed out authentication code. That gets put into the application, and then we just have to format the what we want to send to the user and how we want this to look. So you can make this as fancy or simple as you want. You can put your icons and everything else on it, and then you can put it here. Now, the other thing you could do here, which I don't have implemented, but You could also, maybe document in your database that this email was sent. You can, put some send statistics in there. Um, there's a lot that you could do with this to manage your communications and keep track of things. This is just sending the information at this point. So that's the email sender. Where that gets used is if we go back again to our components under account. If you look at, so let's say we are creating an account that's going to be under register. And the code here, when we register a user, it creates a user, sets the user name, puts a log on entry in, and then user manager.generate email confirmation token. So that's that confirmation token that we saw there. And then here we have that email sender send. So that email sender is brought into here as an through through dependency injection. The default one just doesn't do much. The one we implemented actually sends the email. So once we override that and once we create our actual concrete implementation of the iEmail sender and replace the no op one, now it will actually use that to send our confirmation. And then let's see. Okay, so once we have all of our email configured, it becomes time to test it. Now, one way of testing it is to go to start the application. And then actually, I already have a user. I'm going to go ahead and remove my user. So I have, if you have a database set up, you will get these tables set in here. So I'm going to go to my users, and just for the sake of testing, I'm going to delete the users I have on here. And then I'm going to have to do the same thing with roles or user roles. And yeah, so now I've got it emptied out. So if you had some users, if you're in the process of doing authentication authorization, create some users, either make another another user to test with, or delete the one you have so that you can test out the email capability. Then run your application and register your user. So I'm going to register my user. If it works out well, instead of the boilerplate message, you should see register confirmation. Please check your email to confirm your account. You should get a message which looks very similar to this. I've got some names I need to change, but you click on that and it should bring you back and confirm your registration. Go home. You should then be able to try your login, and you're logged in. I also have an authentication page, which allows, I've made a server one and an authentication one. It's in another part of my blog, but I use this to just check my authentication status. And I can see, okay, I'm logged in. Then the next thing I want to do is maybe make a page for me to actually send emails from. And so I've got that on my blog as well. I've got a email page, and I've set this to authorize admin. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to test the protection of this. You probably don't want a page which you can just send any email you want from your website. So if you do have an email page, make sure you protect it. And this is just an email form. I made it server side. And so I'm going to confirm that. So I'm going to log in. Well, actually, first I'm going to just go to that page and see that if you're not logged in, it's protected. Yep. And then I'm going to log in. Access denied. Very good. So then I will go to my users, copy the ID field, and assign, and then I want to basically make my user an admin. Run the application again and see if I can get to that email page. Now I can test. I need to put in the signal that it actually went. But then I can check to see if I got the message. And we do, in fact, get that test message. So that way you can verify that, yes, you can send emails both from the authentication process when you're making an account, and also that later on when you want to send emails from your site, that you have that working. So that gives you the best of both worlds, allows you to use not only implement email for your authorization part and your login functionality, but also allows you to set it up so that you can use it just to send emails. So that's my solution, and it's on my blog, Entry Level Programmer. Thank you very much.